If you had an extra $1,000, ladies and gentlemen, what would you do with the money? Coming up here on the next episode of the Banking Bros. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is Jadu, Robert, and Jonah.
How many children do you think we have subscribed?
Children?
Yeah, of all ages.
Oh, of all ages. Well, hey, the young and the young at heart is what we got out here.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're back with our weekly podcast episode. Make sure you follow and subscribe along. You might be watching even on YouTube, and that's a great place to see the vlog version, the Vodcast. I think that's that word is becoming way more popular.
I hadn't heard it, but
Vodcast, the video.
We'll make
yeah.
the thing.
So if that's the thing, you let us know. What are we supposed to call this, ladies and gentlemen? And we're going to talk today about that idea. If you had $1,000, what should you do with it? Of course, we help people crack the code to cash flow. And what that means around here is we're helping people understand the infinite banking concept. What is it? Where does it come from? And how do you use it? And why would I ever stick money in something as crazy as insurance and expect to be able to use it?
That's right. So one of the reasons we brought up this topic today is because it's actually a frequently asked question by a lot of people who have policies or getting started with their policies. They say, I'm coming into extra money. What should I do? What benefits me most? Even some of the folks who see our 3-cup setup they say, where really should I put it? Especially when they understand the kind of repaying loans. I kid you not, we're going to analyze a situation today from a gentleman who is real.
Okay. Love it.
I kid you not. I'm reading off my Apple Watch right now. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is less than 27 minutes ago. I have some extra income this month and probably will have it going forward due to a raise. Should I put the money into my policy, or where would you suggest? Which is one of the reasons why we
got to do it. The people are ready for it. So,
asking, right?
Robert, here's a question that I have for you before we get into it. We've already talked through our show notes that we're going to go through today, and we know the scenarios that are going to help people assess the situation. However, prior to knowing what we know, can you think back, Robert? What would you have done with $1,000 5 years ago if you had $1,000 extra?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm doing with $1,000 is I'm going to diversify between different asset classes, but I'm immediately taking on risk. And when I deploy those dollars, of course, they're out there and I can't liquidate those dollars.
Now you're being honest. That's what you would have done 5 years ago. How old were you 5 years ago?
Well, I guess.
See, that's what I'm really asking.
5 years.
What would you have done with $1,000 5 years ago?
5 years ago, man, I probably definitely would have been trying to take a girl out.
Yep. Okay. There it is. There it is. All right. But obviously what you just mentioned, yes, what you would have done with it in terms of like utilization of the cash, your strategy would have given you risk no matter what you would have done is what you're saying now. Yeah. For a lot of people. Cool. Jonah, hold on. Prior to you having policies. Now you've been practicing banking.
I had policies,
right. So
go ahead. 5 years ago, I'm putting in the policy.
So prior to that, how long have you been practicing the infinite banking concept personally?
I believe my first policy started in 2015, 2016.
Okay. So we're going to go back 10 years, about 3 years.
10 years. All right.
Is that 3 or 4? Whatever. 4 years prior to having a policy. You come into 1,000. What were you doing 10 years ago? Were you in school?
20
Did you
years
work?
old. So I was
cleaning carpets.
Above. Yep. I was in school. I was at 20. I wasn't cleaning carpets at 20.
Okay.
I was working at the bank.
Okay. So you saw people get $1,000 extra all the time. They called them to help. So what were they doing with the money?
No, nothing of relevance. When I was at the bank, we've talked about this a few times. When I was at the bank and seeing lots of people's bank accounts every single day, I realized that America absolutely does run on Dunkin'. Everybody goes to Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. I don't know what they're spending either. It's $3 and some change. You
used to know the number. It was like $3.72.
Yeah. Everybody. It must be a donut and a coffee. I never got the attraction. But what I would have done with $1,000 back then, man, 20 years old working at the bank, I probably would have, now granted, I probably would have saved some of it, maybe put it in a savings account or something, but I would have spent it. I would have bought some shoes or something, paid for,
I love it how these. Now you guys were in there talking about, and we're going to help everybody understand all the scenarios that they can put their money into generically, and then specifically what those things would do or not give them in terms of security, financial risk, and things like that. But I threw y'all off because you're out here talking all smart a few minutes ago, but I missed the meeting, so I'm like, wait, what would you actually do with $1,000 if you didn't listen to the banking bros? You know,
there's a big difference in what we do with $1,000 now.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's what we want to touch on. So I think today we're going to compare a few different actions and avenues, but in order to do that, we've got to start with this scenario. We've got to get everybody on the same page. And so here's my scenario. I'll ask it to the both of you. I'll ask it to our audience. Okay. So let's say that you have a checking account, savings account, an account at a bank, whatever it is, and the bank is a really awesome bank, pays you 4% interest on your money.
Hold on. Really? 4%?
I understand. No banks are actually paying 4% these days. It's like 0.00004. But let's just say you found a really good bank. They're paying you 4%.
Okay, cool.
You've got $25,000 in the bank earning 4%.
Okay.
You decide it's time for me to go get a new car. So I'm going to go get that new car. It costs $25,000.
Yeah.
So these days, what is that getting you? A Toyota Corolla, a Honda Civic, and then
right? It's a decent one.
Yeah, it's getting a decent car.
Maybe a Camry.
Not a 2020.
Not a 2022. No, not a 2022. A used
pre-owned.
Certified pre-owned.
There you go.
2018.
Right, which is all good. All good. We're not making fun of your cars. It's just that's what you had the money to go get, right? So you walk into the bank, you go up to the teller, you say, look, I want to withdraw all my money. I'm going to get that car. The banker, the person who sits at the desk, overhears this, runs up to the counter and says to you, what are you doing? Are you closing your account? And you say, no, I'm not closing the account. I just want to go get the car. I need to use my money to go get the car. And he says, don't do that. That is goofy. You're like, what? I'm not goofy. I'm using my money. I'm paying cash for the car. That's what folks taught me. That's my parents taught me.
Dave Ramsey told me to go buy cash.
That's it. Okay.
Go pay
so
with
he
cash.
says you should not do that. What you should do is let me loan you the money.
Ooh.
And he said, and you say, no chance. Not paying. I don't want to pay the interest.
Y'all trying to get me.
Payments, right? Y'all trying to get me. He says, no. Let me loan you the money. See, I'll loan you $25,000. You've got the collateral in your bank account. I'll loan you that $25,000 at 6%. But don't worry, you'll come out ahead. The question I've got for you both, gentlemen, is 5 years ago, would you have believed the banker's telling you the truth? Or do you believe the banker's telling you the truth right now? The banker says, let me loan you the money. Pay me 6%. You'll come out ahead.
So here's the thing. I heard a scenario like this when someone was trying to introduce me to infinite banking, the infinite banking concept. This is prior to me having, so it was more than 5 years ago, right? And I looked at this scenario, and I'm one of those guys in a room full of people who's not going to answer, right, and look dumb, because I'm like, is this a trick question? Like, why would I think that I wouldn't be losing money? It seems very obvious. I'm earning at 4 and have to pay a loan at 6. So if he's loaning me $25,000 and I'm paying 6% on it, obviously I'm losing 2%. My money makes 4%. My money don't jiggle. It folds at 4.
See, I understand. I would have thought the same thing. That actually brings us to our comment for today's episode. Our comment for today's episode comes from Muffin the Handyman on TikTok. Muffin the Handyman, if you're watching, we're reading your comment. The reason that this is our comment of the week is because we asked this question. We posed this question on the internet, and Muffin the Handyman says, if your car loan is 6%, that would be low now, in parentheses.
Correct. I agree with that, though.
Good.
I agree with that. So far, so good.
All good.
I know the Muffin Man.
He says you need to beat 6% on your cash, or you're losing money in interest.
It's exactly what I would have said back in the day.
Muffin the Handyman. So so that's our answer?
It was.
Okay.
It was.
I told you the banker was telling you the truth. The banker's telling you the truth. And now everyone at home is going, no chance. How? How can I earn at 4, pay at 6, and make money? And I'm here to tell you, because it's the way that money flows. I'll prove it to you.
Okay.
Right?
Let's do it.
If you've got $25,000 and you're 6% on it, that means your monthly payment on an average length car note, so like a 5-year note, 60 months,
makes sense,
would be $483.32. If you take 4332 times it by 60, you actually pay $28,999.
Yep.
So that's $25,000 in principal for the car. It's $4,000 if you let me round up a dollar. $4,000 of interest.
Right, which makes sense, right?
Everybody
so we get our car right away. I'm driving it off the lot that afternoon, but now I owe the banker money, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
$4,000.
$4,000 over the course of time, which is normal for most people.
Right.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, because if you take the loan, your money would have still been in the bank. That was the whole deal. Leave it sit, loan it for me, right? Mm-hmm. $25,000 earning 4% over the same 60 months. Time is important. Uninterrupted.
Robert
Equals
right?
$30,525. Now, I don't know about you guys, but $30,525 is more money than $29,000. It's $1,500.
Okay, so you're
more.
saying that we had the car the whole time.
Let's
break it down. You had the car. You were driving the car, using the car. We, you, I, whoever. We paid $29,000 principal plus interest to the bank.
That's right.
And we have in our account at the day we pay off the car $30,525 and a car,
which is a net profit of $1,500. That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
So the banker told you the truth, even though your brain said, no chance, can't be right. He's lying to me. He's trying to get me. I don't want the interest. I don't want the payments. So the question is, why? Why does everyone think that?
Because what's crazy is I still want to believe what I explained.
I agree with you.
I want to, like, if I'm earning at 4 and paying at 6, I
also agreed
with him.
Muffin the handyman.
Oh no! So we got a lot of people out there we need to educate.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Okay,
but more than that, what if I went with my initial thought? And remember, you were saying like, well, are you closing the account? If I used all the money out of my account to make that purchase, did I not go back to zero?
Correct.
I agree with you.
Because when we're ending this term of 5 years, 60 months, we have $30,525. Yeah. And I think what folks miss out on in that Dave Ramsey mindset or culture or cash culture that I used to be in exclusively is that we still have a payment. We had one big payment. And if we pay it out, like you mentioned, Robert, we got $0. We'll still have to be saving up.
That's right. So
like to get back to where we went.
Same scenario, right? Bank account versus cash. Like Robert's saying, we use the cash, bank account balance 0. We let the cash sit in the account, bank account balance up from $25,000 to $30,525. That is $5,525 earned over a 5-year period that you would not have if you use cash.
Right.
Opportunity cost, right? That's what they say.
Correct. You're going to miss out.
Cool. So now that we understand the flow of money, right? Here's what happened. Your bank account is on an ascending scale, increasing upward, going up every month, year, however they paid the interest, you're going up, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas every time you make that car payment, the balance of your car is coming down. Descending scale.
It's a law of increasing and decreasing numbers.
There it is. Law of increasing and decreasing numbers. You got one that's ascending, one that's descending. And so over time, which one's going to win, right?
Yeah.
It's the one that's ascending. That's what's happening with the flow of money. That's what we're trying to teach. So here comes the question of the day, the podcast topic. What happens if I come into extra money? What happens if I come into extra money? Where should I put it? Do I put it in my bank account? Do I put it on the car payment? Right?
Right.
Where do I put it? That's the question. The reason one of these topics, again, one of the reasons the topic was brought up and we're having a podcast episode about it is because I see this so often from so many folks who call in and want us to help them with banking. So it could be a first timer, someone who's seasoned.
Yeah.
But here's what happens. They have debt that they want to pay off and they pay more than the minimum payment across the board on all these debts. So if they owe Best Buy $25 a month, they actually give them $50. If they owe Kohl's $50 a month, they actually give them $75. If they owe their car payment $330, they actually pay $350. Right? They do this whole across the board spread where they give a little extra.
Yeah.
And thinking,
which seems great, which seems to be the right thing normally.
Right. Which kind of if you're not really paying attention or thinking about it or just listen, I really want to pay off.
You don't actually do math.
Kind of do it.
Yeah. Right. You don't do the math. No. You just add some extra dollars.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the question in hand is, where should I actually put it? So we actually did the math. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this visual, but we took the exact same scenario we just went through with the car and we added an extra $1,000. So instead of $25,000 sitting in your bank account, it's $26,000. And when you're making the car payment, $483.32 each month, you throw in an extra $1,000 right away. So it's comparing. Do I put the extra $1,000
All right.
in the car payment, or do I put the extra $1,000 in the bank account?
So there's one time, $1,000 goes in, boom. Okay.
Which one makes the most sense?
Okay.
If you see, again, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're listening to a podcast, you got to go see our, what is it called? Vodcast?
Vodcast?
Okay.
Vlogcast? Y'all let us know. We don't know what
Okay,
this is
you got to
called.
go watch this because this is huge. Remember that over the course of 5 years, 60 months, we paid the car back $28,999.
Yeah.
$29,000.
Right.
Round up $1, right? With an extra $1,000 still in the mix right away. At the end of 5 years, 60 months, you actually pay $28,662. Your $1,000 saved you under $300. Wow. Under $300. If you put that $1,000 in the bank account right away, $26,000 instead of $25,000, 5 years go by, your $30,525, that's what you would have had,
right.
$25,000,
yes.
is now $31,633.
So
that
you
means
made
over $1,000. Literally more than double.
Yes.
The issue I keep running into though is even with me putting the cash inside of the account, how can I use that cash even with it being inside the account? That seems to be like the issue that I'm running into.
I agree with you. Liquidity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with you. The
Because
cool
if you
thing
take it out, it won't earn.
That's exactly right. The cool thing that I wanted to point out to you is just the simple effect of if you've got a plan, a program, a policy that's ascending, uninterrupted, you cannot shortchange the fact that continues to grow over time. Do not think that, I'm being impatient, or I just want to use my money now, or I need to pay off this car, so I'm going to throw all this extra money. You threw it. Would anyone do that deal? Honestly, if you give me $1,000 extra, I'll give you back 300.
Of course not. Because we're not doing the math and we're not paying attention to the flow and the grow of the money, as you said a little bit earlier. Because, in the right mind, if you explain this to anybody, if anybody's actually following the math and following the numbers here, looking at the visuals, they're like, wow, have I been doing this and been shortchanging my own self?
So many folks do it, throwing those extra dollars at the payments like that. But like Robert brought up, what we're trying to relate here is the power of having a infinite banking policy, having a privatized banking policy that offers uninterrupted compound interest. And so the question comes up, if I come into extra money, where should I put it? And the answer, there's only one answer: inside your policy. Don't put it anywhere. You cannot get on my phone line with whatever scenario that has happened to you in your life and get a different answer from me.
Right.
I already know the answer.
Pay yourself first.
You've got
pay
to put
yourself
it in your
first.
policy.
That is actually a principle and a rule you need to follow. And if you understand the math, it only makes sense to you consciously every time. You've just got to reinitiate when you get money, income, when someone hands you a greenback every once in a while, it goes in the policy first. And that place is premium deposits.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like you had brought up earlier, I think let's do some just mathematical gymnastics here with the folks on the phone. What would you say, or give us your thoughts on if we take a policy versus a cash purchase, just a policy versus a cash purchase? Which one should I do?
Yeah. So, and this is for any purchase. I'm looking at what value does it give? So, you might even make an investment that actually gives you some interest or whatever the case is. But nevertheless, like I said before, just like when Jeremiah was asking me, well, what would you have done before? Either way it goes, you're putting your cash out there. And therefore, once it's working for you in whatever way, or if it bought you some food, whatever, it can no longer do anything else for you. And so that's the biggest thing for me is I had to understand and come into the concept of, okay, how can I get $1 to work more and go beyond, just what it does for me in my first transaction? As consumers, especially, we're only on one side of the transaction. And because we're never on both sides of the transaction, once we spend $1, we can never see it again.
Right.
And so we have to get on both sides of the transaction. The only way to do that is if we replace the other person in that transaction. What do banks do? They make transactions. The foreign exchange market is $8 trillion a day being moved globally. And these are all transactions that need to be settled. So someone's making money off of your transactions. It's just, it's really a matter of who. Exactly.
That's right. Right.
I like that. And like you had mentioned earlier, if we kind of keep it simple for everybody, right? If you've got the ability to have this uninterrupted compound interest, like in our car example, 4%, $25,000 turned into $5,525. It's 5 years later, and you decide not to do that and just to go pay cash instead, your balance went from 25,000 to zero. There's no $5,000 earning ability. It's gone, right? So I'll ask you the same question, Jeremiah. What are your thoughts on using a policy or doing an investment? So my question is, I've got a policy active, or you can even use our bank account, our made-up bank account from our car example. I've got $25,000 in there, and then I've got an investment opportunity, and I go, I've got an extra $1,000. Do I put it in my policy, or do I do my investment?
It's a great question because so many people ask. Robert and I get on TikTok. We do a lot of lives, and we do coaching for people who have not yet started, and they want to know about the idea, which makes so much sense to the untrained mind, is a rate of return. And if we're getting 4% over here in this scenario that you gave us, Jonah, then weren't we going to make more money if we get 10 or 15 or 25% doing some great deal in the market? Maybe real estate will give us a 25% return. Maybe we've got some stock market activity, mutual funds, S&P that we assume will give us maybe up to 10, right? So how do I make more money at 4? Well, here's the thing. When you put your dollars inside an investment, number one, they're locked up. Okay, so you cannot use them. Okay, so first off is if you place them inside of investment, it just normally initiates the idea that they're locked up and you'd have to wait for them for the return. But if you put those dollars inside your policy first, you've got to remember you can borrow against them in cash value, just like in the scenario you said at the bank, right? If you have cash inside the bank, they will consider that collateral and they'll loan you some of their money. Well, inside a policy, it works the same way. If you put dollars inside a policy and premium, they are safe and sound. We never say locked up around here because they will still give you an account, cash values to be able to use. Yeah, you're going to be able to make whatever number it is on this great investment that you've got. It's not a comparison. It's a both and in your policy. So that's my answer. My answer is I'm still going to put dollars in my policy, earn my guaranteed rates, my 4% as we're using today, and then I'm still going to be able to have collateral to leverage, like at the bank when they said you can still take our money to go get a car.
Yeah. And digging into that a little bit is just what Jeremiah said was he's on both sides of the transaction, though, because when he was comparing it to doing it with the bank, the difference is he's the bank in that scenario. So if you were to pay yourself back, like you said, you can have the money and whatever it is that you purchase. But in the event that you pay back a loan to a bank or credit card company, that money is gone.
What's crazy, we haven't even gotten into that, right? Because if we get into that and paying back that loan and you own then it's even more gravy. But, just in the scenario Jonah said, what's really we've got to think about is if we have a guaranteed growth rate and we can still borrow against it at the bank or in your policy, which both of these scenarios make sense, is that you make both. You make your investment returns or you lose your investment returns, people, 2022, but you still have your cash growing in the bank.
That's right. In our scenario, we made some money purchasing that car, right? We made some money. I wonder how much money you can make just continuing to purchase cars, right? Sometimes our mentor, Brent Kessler, likes to say, if you knew all the money was coming back, like we just did, plus $1,500 extra, right? What type of car are you buying?
Right. Well, maybe I'm buying the big car, a nice car, more expensive car because I know I get all the money back and make money on it.
Right.
And of course, I don't have to get the old, what do we call them back in the day? Old busted new hotness, jalopy lemon, right? I ain't got to ride around in the old school caddy. I'm going to get the new one.
That is our episode for today. Before we leave, I actually want to give a shout out to our fan follow of the week. And our fan follow of the week is Jay Thomas, coming to us from our YouTube channel.
Jay,
Thank you
what
so much
up?
for subscribing, man. I hope you're enjoying the content, of course. And if you have any questions, shoot them over to us, man. Put them on the comment on the videos. Shoot us an email. Comment on this video if you see it. We really appreciate you subscribing and watching.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our episode. And we now continue to ask you, in your journey to lifelong learning and wealth creation and getting free from that financial bondage you may not have even known you were in, what would you do now with an extra $1,000?